Talia Pollock, thank you so much for joining us on the Plant Trainers podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Having a little bit of a groundhog day since the computer just died on us, so we're restarting. We didn't get too far in, so why don't you reshare your moment of gratitude with us?
I will reshare that I am grateful for my home. I was saying before we crashed that my husband and I just moved out of the city and bought this home only a few months ago. And all of our friends were like, what are you doing leaving the city? And we wanted our nature and our trees. And now I just feel so much gratitude for the fact that we have this comfortable place to be in right now, and the home gym, clutch home gym. And in this period of time, it's easy to find gratitude for literally everything, like toilet paper, everything. So,
Yeah, toilet paper for sure. A toilet for everyone, because you know what? You're not used to having people home all the time. And, so people need to share, but I never regretted a cent that we spent on our home gym, but it is definitely worth every penny these days with all four of us using it every single day. It's great.
Yeah, so it's like a playroom too, and like whatever.
Yeah, so we have a gym in the basement. So the kids are doing a lot of volleyball activities in the basement, not getting it up high, but they're volleying and bumping against the wall.
Cool.
And then like our daughter will do some stretching and stuff like on the little mat in front of the weight bar. And then Adam and I we have a treadmill, we have a bike, we have weights.
It's kind of an anything goes kind of room. Yeah.
Is it that best? It's the best room in the house, isn't it? Like for me, every time I go in there, I'm like, this is church. This is like my sanctuary, like whatever,
It's a pretty good space.
Synagogue.
Yeah. Whatever it is. Yeah. It's just great to have that space. So those people who are in apartments now, right? I'm feeling you. And I was just saying, move your furniture off to the side. Your place doesn't need to look amazing all the time. Move it off to the side. Give yourself some space to move, to Zumba, to jump, to dance, whatever it is that you need to do. It makes a huge difference in your days for sure.
Absolutely.
So why don't you tell us, before you had mentioned opening up the fridge and having beautiful food inside the fridge.
Oh, right. I'm also grateful for my fridge full of plants.
I needed that because I needed a segue into tell us about your plants and how you found a plant-based lifestyle.
Oh man. So for me, I struggled with my health for most of my life. It was over an 8-year journey of just feeling lousy. Really, it started with digestive issues, which, as your digestion really affects your entire immunity and your entire body. So when that was terribly compromised, I started getting weird viral infections, herpes on my eyebrow, ear infections, and that led to lethargy and depression and anxiety and a lack of confidence. And so I was just walking around the world not even close to the best version of myself, not even close to like a decent version of myself. And it sucked. And I knew there had to be some better way. So over 8 years, I went to multiple gastroenterologists, naturopathic doctors, nutritionists, acupuncturists, chiropractors, hypnotherapists. I did every poop test, blood test, breath test, everything. And the most anyone gave me was, you have IBS. Which really is just like a life sentence. It's just like, hey, your stomach hurts. We don't know why. We ruled out everything else. Good luck. And so I flashed forward ahead. I was in college at the time, and I tried to envision my wedding day, and I saw myself barely able to walk down the aisle because I felt sick all the time. Or then I saw my wedding night and just being like stuck in a bath because I felt sick all night, and being a mom and never being able to like have breakfast in bed with my kids because I was always too sick. And I just thought I was fated for a life of being sick forever. So at the same time, I was an aspiring comedian. I loved using words to inspire others to laugh and to ease their pains by, uniting in our shared struggles. And that led me to LA to work for Adam Sandler's production company. And in my off time at that job, that internship, I was fooling around with all of LA's like wellness stuff, which led me to this one practitioner who would like touch different parts of my body and tell me like, you have parasites, buy hundreds of dollars worth of my supplement. And I was so desperate for anything that would make me feel better. So I would do it. And one day I was wringing myself out. And I told her, the receptionist, I was hungry. And she said, oh, you got to go across the street. There's this place called Planet Raw. Go get their coconut smoothie. And I was like, okay. So I go across the street, go to the place, ask for the coconut smoothie. They hand me this white, frothy, creamy thing. I say, I'm so sorry, I can't do dairy. It upset my stomach. And they're like, honey, this is a vegan restaurant. I was like, I don't know what vegan is. I'd never heard that word before. This was 2008. I never heard that word, but I didn't want to cause a scene. So I took the smoothie, I drank it, and it was the first time in over 8 years I didn't feel sick eating something. I was like, what is this vegan thing? And so this was before Instagram, blogs, everything. So I just basically moved into Barnes & Noble, sat on the floor transcribing every vegan cookbook and information I could find, went back to school, learned all this stuff, became healthier than ever, but more unhappy than ever because it was very hard to be this plant-eating person while being a normal person in society. Because this was before you could buy almond milk in stores. So I was in college milking my own almonds, dehydrating my kale. And I felt like such a weirdo, such an outcast. So I graduated healthier but more unhappy than ever and decided to find a better way to merge the two. Thankfully, the times caught up too, so that helped. And that's how I started Party My Plants, merging my love for comedy and my love for plants.
I love that story. So what do you think is the best victory that you had, and how fast did you heal? Like, was it you never had a stomach issue again? And was it the lethargy, everything changed? Talk to us a little bit about that.
It was like really fast once I got a handle on my food. I mean, because I was so sick and I felt so lousy, I went like cold turkey overnight, 100%. That's kind of what you do when you're really desperate. And I have a lot of people ask me like, how to transition into more plants now. And that's not necessarily what I would suggest because for me, I was desperate. But because I went overnight, I saw a look. What's the look?
Yeah, because that's what I did. I went overnight also because I had a serious situation that I needed to get over, and I thought that this was the way for me to give it a shot, whereas it took her 6 to 8 months to start rolling it out, right? So everybody's different, and everybody has it in their own time, and they just gotta be patient with it.
And you can still reap the same benefit. You're both still vibrant, glowy, healthy people. So it's no one journey is perfect for everyone. I love that. Yeah. So for me, it was overnight. It felt amazing. But then when the social stuff started happening and I started to feel so insecure about being this person bringing dehydrated granola to classes, and I started taking online classes from my on-campus apartment because I was so ashamed to leave. So once all that started, my stomach started hurting again because, as I learned, stress is worse for you than pesticides. Like I would eat an apple one day and then an apple the next day, and one day it would hurt my stomach. And I was like, it's the same apple. It's a green apple. What's different? Me. My mood when I'm eating it, my stress levels. So that was the missing piece. You can't, like, when I learned that, I realized that it's not just only about what you eat. It's the mindset with which you eat it.
And I think that at the beginning is very stressful for people, especially if they have a partner and they want their partner to jump on board and their partner refuses to, or every time they go home to eat a meal with their family, they're getting grilled, and no pun intended, they're getting grilled, and then and they're getting asked questions, and they're being told that they look emaciated and that they're never going to live another day because they're not eating enough animal protein and what have you. And there's no community. A lot of people, especially like if you think back to 2008, our journey started around 2011. And Adam said I'm vegan, and I'm like, that's some kind of vegetarian, right? Like we didn't know about vegan communities because we barely knew what the word meant also. So it is extremely stressful for people. And I think maybe sometimes their symptoms don't go away as quickly as it can, because although they're feeding the physical, they're not being nurtured with the emotional as well.
1,000,000%. I love that. Even though we're in different places, we have such overlap in our stories. That's cool.
Is the stress, did it come only from the social situation, or was it also that you didn't know what you were doing? You didn't know what foods to eat, what not to eat. You didn't know who to listen to, because nutrition now is even more confusing probably than it was back then, because so many more people are talking about it. So where are the different stress is coming from for people that are listening right now, where would it be?
Well, definitely, I feel like the times have shifted. For me, it was I knew what to do because I was this like at the time I was raw vegan. Then I went to I was at school at Syracuse, kind of near you, where being a raw vegan in the winter really not that great or doable. So then I transitioned to like vegan. But so I had the knowledge and I had the blinders on. So that wasn't the struggle. It was the social. But now I think it's completely swapped for most people because now you go to the grocery store and it's like, which type of plant-based pasta do I get? Lentil, chickpea, black bean, and that's, or brown rice, gluten-free, like that's the struggle that everyone's facing now, it seems, is like too many options, too much information, eat paleo, no, eat gluten-free, no, eat vegan, no, eat vegetarian, no, keto. And I think that and the idea of perfection, because at the time there was no Instagram or really YouTube where people were like, here's what I eat in a day. So you didn't really have anyone to compare yourself to. And now it's like so many people are like comparing their food to what they see and the quantities and the portions. It's just crazy.
So I have a question about your anxiety or your stress that you had around that. Were your friends like rude pieces of garbage and they were actually like making comments to you and making you feel that way? Or was it all in your own head?
That's a really good question. It was first I did it to myself. So this is what I've learned. This is like what my book really, my whole essence really is about. I kind of learned later. It's more about building the confidence in yourself to go to a party and not eat the stuff than it is about anyone else's responsibility to make you feel welcome. So once I started owning it myself, but at first, like no one like gave me a hard time. It was me feeling insecure and like a weirdo and like a burden. So many people even now still, this is a huge thing, feeling like a burden, special ordering food at restaurants. I just do it like it's like I'm asking what time it is, like it's no problem. And everyone that's never seen me do that before makes comments like, wow, like you really know what you're doing with the server. And I'm like, yeah, I own it. I like this. But I did also have some family members, my uncle, who made me feel like a burden and made me feel like a problem. And he just didn't want to change himself. And I think he saw me prioritizing my health as like a threat to him, who he didn't want to do it. So there was both of those things happening.
Yeah, and a lot of times other people's issues with you, and I don't mean you, I mean the people listening. It is their own issues, and they feel threatened. They feel as if they're not doing as good as you. They feel as if you are throwing it in their face, even though you're not. And it's a lot of insecurities with them, knowing that they need to make a change, but they're not in the headspace right now to commit to it. And it makes people feel bad. It's like going back to elementary school when your best friend used to get an A+ on everything and you were like barely scratching by with a C. Like you didn't want to see their tests anymore. You didn't want to know what they got anymore. You just knew what it was. And it's a yucky feeling, except there's so much more control that we can take over it today if we understand how to make it simpler. Because I think a lot of people overthink it at the beginning and they go ahead and they rearrange their whole entire life in one whole day and make other people do things for them. How do we simplify things and make it smoother?
Well, for what I tell people is just eat more plants. Like I don't worry about anything other than that. As long as on a given day, in a given week, a given month, a given year, a given snack, a given breakfast, you have more plants on your plate than you do crap, which I identify as chemical, refined, artificial, processed food, more plants than crap, you good. Like that's how you start. And then you can worry about your own, in my opinion, your own choices on the meat and the grains and the, dairy and all that stuff that kind of is the question mark. And that's what everyone's fighting over. I mean, none of these diets disagree on the importance of vegetables. Like whether you're vegan or paleo, vegetables are a thing. So we can all agree on this common denominator. And I think that the way to get rolling is to just start eating more plants.
Absolutely. And I think that people kind of say, how do I make plants the centerpiece? And for a lot of people, that's going to come over time. So you start by, having more side dishes that are plants, or making your whatever kind of animal product you're still eating, make that more of your side dish, right? And just kind of experiment with one thing at a time. But you can't go wrong with grilled veggies. You can't go wrong with, like some rice and beans. Burrito night is our favorite night. And we were just talking about it last night, is our favorite night in the house. And use the same seasoning that you use on a regular basis with your meat, and start to put it in your lentils, or put it in your, I don't recommend this long term. You could put it in your fake veggie ground beef kind of thing. There's so many different options today than there were when both of us started, for sure.
Yeah. Wait, okay.
Maybe
how do you
many.
roll up burritos? Because I can't. How do you do this?
Okay. So it depends if you want it to be a wrap or a burrito. If you want it to be a wrap, it's a lot less pressure on you. So you roll up, you fold the bottom, and then you flip the right or the left, and then flip the right, and just leave the top open. That way you're not bursting at the seams, right?
I think that's what I basically just do like a taco vibe. Like I just kind of fold it and hold it.
Yeah, but then you have one loose end.
But then everything falls at the loose. So so you just fold up the bottom, like a quarter of it folds up, and then you fold the left and the right if you haven't overstuffed it. And for us, that's perfect. I used to make them that I folded the bottom and the top and then rolled it.
Well, that's the burrito.
And that's like a really burrito. And then I would fry it on the frying pan so that it would stick on its own. And it was just way too much work. And I was like, no. I'm done.
See, that's good.
Yeah.
And anything that's going to, stress you out, I'm just not an advocate for.
Exactly. So, but it would totally stress me out if I just folded my burrito in half and then all the stuff fell out the other end.
And I just eat it with a fork.
Just make a taco bowl.
I think it's because I overstuff it.
Well, it's hard not to overstuff it. There's so many good things you want to get into one small package. It's like almost impossible to get it all in without it cracking or falling out.
So then what goes in the master burrito?
Oh my gosh.
What are the
you guys?
For you. What's in your like
perfect burrito?
Perfect burrito.
Well, definitely sauteed onions and peppers. And then I make a thing called guacish, which it's literally just mashed up avocado with some lime juice and salt. So instead of like making a fancy guac, I just smushed up in one bowl with a fork, super easy. So that's on the side. And then some sort of green, whatever I have in the fridge that's already open, usually kale, shredded kale or something. And then refried beans, always refried beans. Probably some sort of cheese situation, like a dairy-free cheese, or I do a little goat cheese. I can do that, like shredded. And then a protein, either tofu, tempeh. I love tempeh because that you can kind of get like the consistency of like a ground beef type of situation. Or not lentils if you're doing the black beans. So usually like one of the tempeh tofu things.
It's pretty good.
That's good. And lately, I've been digging the sweet potatoes inside.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. I totally forgot. We got an air fryer. Another thing I'm very grateful for is our air fryer. Talk about, making healthy living not suck. An air fryer is like amazing. And do you guys have one?
Yeah.
We do. We actually inherited one. Funny story. What?
Is it the best thing?
It's pretty
so
awesome.
Good. Yeah. Super good.
So two toes in that. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's, I think it's super easy that anybody can make at home because you could literally make it just by opening cans in a healthful way. What about when people are ordering takeout, or what do you recommend? Because you're not there with the server and you don't really know what you're going to end up getting. So when life goes back to like regular takeout, what tips do you have for people who are trying to health it up a little bit?
Even if they're ordering now for delivery.
Yeah, they might be still ordering now.
Some people are still doing that. Yeah. Well, one thing I always do is I make my own rice situation, so instead of just getting the white rice that usually when unless you're getting pizza, then if you're doing pizza takeout, then just bring it home and throw on every vegetable you can find in your house. That's what I do. I saute while we're waiting for it to come, every vegetable I can find, or even like frozen vegetables, thaw those, saute, whatever. So then you have a veggie packed pizza. But if you're doing like an Asian, like a Thai or Chinese or whatever, or even Mexican, I either make cauliflower rice, so then I have whatever I just got, but now I'm not using their white rice, I'm using cauliflower rice. Or quinoa is another thing that I do. And I definitely will always take like a slotted spoon, like a large one of those like kind of like pasta spoons or whatever, and because a lot of the sauces are questionable, so I'll just scoop out the veggies or whatever, let that sauce fall, and then add it to like quinoa or cauliflower rice, and that's a really good way to get going.
That's super fun. When I am ordering in, I'm on strike. I'm like, I'm not willing to make the rice. If we're ordering in, it's because I'm not cooking. So I'm like that once a month or once every 2 months. I'm like, I just want that white. Yeah, I just want that white rice because I never have it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's not often.
But that's a really great idea. I never thought about that, because when you order pizza, especially from like a good place, every vegetable topping you put on top is like another $2-3. So if you want to make
and they're so skimpy with what they give you.
Yes. So if you want a really good pizza that's filled with vegetables, see what you have at home, order a couple of vegetables there, and just throw the rest on, put it back in the oven just to like consolidate everything. That's a great idea. I've never even thought about it before. Learned something.
Smart.
Yeah.
What about healthy desserts? Like, what if people have that sweet tooth? What's your like go-to dessert?
Oh my God. I don't know about you guys. If you had to pick sweet or savory, what would you pick?
Sweet.
Me too. Okay, cool. Most people in my life are all savory. So I'm like, I feel like an alien, but sweet 100%. So I have dessert every day, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Banana ice cream, I'm sure you're familiar with that. Banana ice cream's the bomb. Just frozen bananas in chunks in a food processor or blender. Soft serve ice cream. That's great. In my book, I have a recipe for a single cookie, which I was so proud to come up with, because I often want a cookie, like a fresh baked cookie. But like I said, my husband isn't even a sweet tooth guy. So then I'm left with a whole batch of cookies that then I'm going to eat. Right? And so I have one, it's like one double chocolate chip cookie with almond flour, and it's awesome. So those are, and I can make in the air fryer, which I just learned too. So those are two big go-to things for me. Or just like chocolate covered bananas that you can dunk and freeze. Those are what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I had some strawberries in the fridge that I pulled out this morning, and the kids said, oh, that doesn't look so good. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to test them. I'm going to leave it out on the table and see what happens. And if they're still there around like 3:00 time, I'll just melt some chocolate chips and dip the strawberries in and make some chocolate covered strawberries. But there's only one left. So now I don't have to do that. They actually ate them. They ate them after all. Or some, did you eat them?
So
I had
fun.
some.
I had some. But somewhat, they got eaten after all. But yeah, sometimes you don't have to overthink. Talk about simplify. You don't even have to overthink the treats kind of thing. You can totally go with real treats from nature that are actually going to treat your body, not just treat your emotions. And, add a bit of chocolate, add a bit of melted chocolate to anything is great. Just about anything is great.
Yeah.
And then, go with that for sure. But I love the idea of one cookie for sure.
One cookie. I know. It's fun.
I
think people... Yeah.
Well, because one's not going to be enough for
Is
me.
it this big?
It's a big one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It like borderlines 2 cookies. But I think people overcomplicate healthy eating in general. Like plant-based eating, like you can just eat, like think of plants. Like carrot sticks are a wonderful snack. Snap peas. Like, I think grapefruit, oranges, like, I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, I have to make like an acai bowl with like all the toppings. And it's like, no, you could just have like plants. And some people don't like grapefruit. And it made me think of the pomelo. And I think people should get out there and try. Do you have pomelo? Like, have you? I don't think so.
You don't? Oh, so it's like this.
I had it, but I don't really know.
Right. So it's like this oversized grapefruit looking thing. And then when you go to peel it, you actually have to score it because
It's not usually this big, though.
No, well, people can't see me. It's like the size
People
of.
could see you on YouTube.
Well, on YouTube they could see me. On YouTube they could see me. It's like the size. It's smaller than a soccer ball for sure.
It's an Asian grapefruit.
It's an Asian grapefruit, and it's got really thick skin, but it's much sweeter than the grapefruit, but it's still like very citrusy, and the pulps are very big, so you could almost eat it like one pulp at a time. Like if you take one sliver and you want to eat in front of the television because that's what you're used to, and you literally eat one pulp at a time, like, yeah, it'll take you like an hour to get through that. So
that's nice.
Yeah, that's a nice
mindful activity too. My dad does that with pomegranates. Yeah. He's obsessed with pomegranates, and it's like a puzzle for him. It's like a mind game.
That's good. So the antioxidants will be good for his brain, and that mind game will be good for his brain too as he ages. Hopefully he's not listening. He's not aging. I take it back. He's aging. It's fine. Do you think that people's perceptions of making things complicated or not having enough time to eat holds them back from starting a plant-based diet or even continuing with it?
Or even getting healthy?
Yeah, and I think this idea that it's all or nothing and that it's about perfectionism, all this stuff really holds people back. Absolutely. I mean, I tell people it's your most of the time that matters most. Like our bodies can handle some Cheetos. Like it's okay. Like if it's our most of the time. So I think a lot of people get so caught up with the perfectionism, and that then makes them nervous about the time commitment. And I think that I've been talking, as I've been doing interviews about my book coming out, I've been revealing this fact that people are surprised to hear about me, which is I don't love cooking. Like, yes, I just came out with a cookbook, but I don't get in the kitchen and I'm like, this is a meditative process. I am so lit up in here. No, I make food so I can feel good, so I can go into my life and be the best version of myself. And I think that a lot of people put pressure on themselves to love cooking. And if they don't, then like, whatever, I can't do it. It's not for me. But I think if you can make it as simple as possible, like the taco burrito, like that was just opening cans, like you said, can be, or cutting a few things, or buying pre-cut things and then putting them in a thing, so simple. And my motto is if you're getting in the kitchen, make many if you're making any. So I get in there, if I'm making quinoa, I'm going to make enough for like four portions. Because if my booty's in the kitchen, I might as well make the most out of it. So I think that that's a good way to deal with like the time stressor of the whole thing as well.
I think a lot of people hold back because they don't want to spend so much time making their food and they just want to grab something quick. Right. And they don't realize that plant-based eating could be grabbing something so quick. And you don't have to do all that preparation necessarily. Or you could spend one day, do a whole bunch of meal prep for the week, and you're done for the week, and then everything's just grab and go.
Yeah, I mostly live grab and go-ally, especially for lunch. I mean, I literally just grab like a tortilla and anything that I have in the fridge that's left over. Any like spread, if there's a pesto left in there, or even just like tahini or avocado, like any like lube kind of like spread, any raw vegetables, throw it in there, and whatever protein I see. And if there's no protein already there, then a can of a protein. Boom, done, lunch.
So easy. And if people are like, oh, I don't have time to sit there with the fork, like eating the big salad, I'm like, throw it in a tortilla, right? Just throw it in a tortilla. It's so easy. And
with the tortilla.
So often in regular times, you'll open our fridge and you'll see just Tupperwares and not Tupperwares, but containers and containers and containers. Yes, and it's like we've got 8 soups and we've got 8 salads, and like, there's bananas on the counter and apples and all of that. And it's because every day Adam takes on his way to work, he'll take a soup and a salad, and I'll have a soup or a salad for lunch and it's just there. And when it's there, it's like a no thought process. And so I spend 3 hours in the kitchen on a Sunday or a Saturday, getting all that prepped. There are things that, if you think about it, there could be things that I'm missing out on by doing that. But how much am I gaining by having all of that ready throughout the week so that I don't eat things that are going to sabotage my health?
Totally. And you're saving time when you're eating on the other times than when you're prepping.
Exactly. Yes.
That was
Makes
not
sense.
very eloquently
You
said.
do not need to
got the
prep
gist.
that meal. You literally need to pull it out
Just
and
grab it.
open
Yes.
the cover.
Makes perfect sense. Talia, you have a new book coming out. You mentioned it. It's called Party in Your Plants, 100 plus plant-based recipes and problem-solving strategies to help you eat healthier without hating your life.
Easy.
Tell us, it's a short title. Why don't you tell us a little
problem.
bit about that and where people can get it and find you?
Yeah, it's funny. It's just like this little thing is what you just read is the little subtitle. So like it's kind of like an afterthought, but this is the book. I'm very stoked about it. It's my whole story that I just started with. I mean, that's stemming back from 2008. So this has been the whole journey. And so it's packed with stories and anecdotes. And what's really awesome is that instead of dividing the book by breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, it's divided by real life situations, which is where my whole story started, trying to fit my plants into my real life, because I just don't think that one needs to change their real life to accommodate their plants. I think the plants are supposed to elevate your real life. And so my real life involves football tailgating. So there's a section in here on what to make when you're going to a football tailgate or just are eating in your trunk in a parking lot. What to make when you're going to a potluck, what to make when it's hot out, but you still have to eat. It's divided by these real life situations. And the goal is to help people, or like what to make when you want to have dessert, but you don't want like a whole batch of cookies, So it's an empowerment guide to help people just fit more plants into their real everyday life so they can feel their best.
I think that's great. And I think that will help people get over the stress, make some amazing life changes. We all know that now's the time. So, that's great. We really, really appreciate your time here. We appreciate you sharing your story with us and our listeners. I know that people are going to be all over that book and they're going to have a lot of fun with it. So I'm glad that you've put that up there for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Talia, if people want to reach out to you, where do you want them to go to connect?
Yeah, Party in My Plants. I'm on Instagram, my website, Party in My Plants, the Party in My Plants podcast. You can't not find me with Party in My Plants.
Can't miss you in your pants. Or in your plants.
Yeah,
Nice.
Good one. All right. Thank you so much for being with us here today on the Plant Trainers podcast. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me.